Hello, I'm Emanuela Orsini, and we're broadcasting to you live from the World Economic Forum in Geneva. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Now, I want you to imagine a world where the entrepreneurs with solutions to the world's biggest challenges are given the resources, connections, and expertise they need to make our planet better. A world where business models that support positive change for people and planet, not just making a profit, receive vital funding to take their innovations to the next level. A world where barriers to success are removed and where innovation is allowed to thrive and where society, economy, and the environment exist in harmony. Now, this is the world that UpLink and its community of innovators, experts, partners, and investors has been working tirelessly to create. UpLink was launched at Davos in 2020 by the World Economic Forum, Deloitte, and Salesforce, and its purpose is to find and scale businesses that combine purpose and profit. 2 years on from that launch, and alongside our partners, 1T.org, Friends of Ocean Action, the Global Plastic Action Partnership, and others, we believe we've unlocked an entrepreneur revolution. A revolution that is inspiring new ways of doing business and supporting the positive change the world needs to see now. Now, over the course of the next hour, we'll hear from two of the inspiring entrepreneurs we're supporting and learn about how they're helping the communities most impacted by climate change. We'll also talk to the World Economic Forum's founder and executive chairman, Professor Klaus Schwab, alongside the CEOs of Deloitte and Salesforce, Punit Renjen and Mark Benioff, about UpLink's progress so far and the urgent need to support more impact entrepreneurs around the world. And finally, we'll be joined by Catherine Russell, the new executive director of UNICEF, which is partnering with UpLink to launch our latest innovation challenge that aims to find solutions to one of the biggest issues affecting young people, mental health. But first, let's watch a video about UpLink's journey so far. The world is facing an unprecedented set of global challenges that threaten our societies, economies, and the natural world. From climate change, deforestation and pollution, to social inequality, lack of access to education, and of course, a pandemic that countries are still fighting to control. In 2020, to tackle these challenges head-on, the World Economic Forum, Deloitte, and Salesforce launched UpLink, a digital platform that is open to grassroots entrepreneurs anywhere in the world, uniting the world's brightest innovators whose solutions are aimed at making the world better, and connecting them with the investors, partners, experts, and governments they need to grow.
We need a space like this that is able to connect the dots, and suddenly solutions seem so much more closer to our fingertips.
We believe that UpLink has the potential to try and get that community together to address some of these issues, not only for this generation, but for the next generation.
In its first 2 years, UpLink has launched 30 innovation challenges. Over 3,000 solutions from 134 countries have been submitted to the platform. And we're now supporting a community of over 200 top innovators whose business models favor people and planet, not just making a profit. Innovations like Desalinator, which is using the power of sunlight to turn seawater into drinking water. Octopus, which is fighting plastic pollution by helping to pay waste collectors a living wage. StanLab, which created virtual laboratories to make science education more accessible. And Silvera, which is using satellites, data, and machine learning to fight climate change. These are just some of the businesses that UpLink, with the support of over 50 globally recognized partner organizations, is helping to scale. And we've made a great start. UpLink's top innovators have raised more than $400 million in additional funding since joining the platform. Meanwhile, the impact of these entrepreneurs has been felt around the world. UpLink's top innovators have captured more than 39 million tons of greenhouse gases, and over 600,000 tons of waste have been removed from land and sea. Over 50,000 species have returned to their original habitat, or measures have been taken to protect them. More than 2.7 million people have gained access to safe drinking water. 2 million have been able to access sustainable food. and almost 200,000 people have been trained or educated. But we can't stop there. With the 2030 global goals fast approaching, we urgently need these innovators to succeed. So we're calling on the business and investment world to step up. And we're not the only ones.
The reality is that business has to be involved. The world's greatest challenges will be solved by companies.
Many members of the global investment community are already supporting this revolution.
I've never seen such exciting innovation. They're taking the 4IR, the fourth revolution, and they're creating the 5IR, which is they're changing and improving the state of the world. It's incredible.
I'm excited to see the shift from the investment community. There are more and more larger investors that are seeing that, hey, we have to do this. We have to do this for our world.
At UpLink, we believe that business as usual is not an option, that the change we need to see in the world will be propelled by innovation, and that we can play a crucial role in helping the entrepreneurs who are doing well by doing good. UpLink is inspiring an innovation revolution. Will you join us? Now, when UpLink was conceived, the main inspiration behind the platform was the need for innovators to play a central role in achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And as we've just seen in that video, we're making progress towards that goal, but this is really just the beginning, and there's still so much more work to do. So to tell us more about the progress of UpLink so far, the challenges facing today's impact entrepreneurs, and what the business and investment community can do to support these innovators, let's now speak with Professor Klaus Schwab, who is alongside Punit Ranjan and Mark Benioff, the CEOs of UpLink's founding partners, Deloitte and Salesforce. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Emanuela. It's great to be with you and to celebrate the second anniversary of this outstanding initiative. But before kicking off, I want to thank Mark and Punit for their leadership, for building UpLink with us as a digital ecosystem for young innovators, or innovators in general. You have been incredible champions of these initiatives from the start. You believed in it, and you helped our mission to come to life. And it's wonderful to see also Catherine Russell here, who is speaking later in this session. Congratulations on your appointment as the new executive director at UNICEF, a strong partner of the World Economic Forum. We hope that this session may be the first of many collaborations. Now, returning to your question, at the forum, we have always supported grassroots communities around the world, particularly also social entrepreneurs, global shapers, young generation, but supporting startups, particularly with an SDG focus, became increasingly important in the past few years. So it's such an uneven playing field for startups based in the global south and outside the traditional entrepreneurial hubs. And these are the same parts of the world where progress is so essential to achieve the 2030 SDGs. They are the parts of the world most affected by climate change, so we urgently needed impact entrepreneurs and startups can really succeed in those areas through their initiatives. Thank you very much, Emanuela. Back to you.
Thank you, Professor Schwab. Now, we have over 200 top innovators on the platform. It's grown so much. As you said, we have innovators from all over the world. Punit, you're a founding partner of UpLink, and you've been central to the platform's development since we launched 2 years ago. Can you tell me a bit more about what were your motivations then?
First, thank you for having me. Great to be with you, Klaus and Mark. I think you did an excellent job in your introduction and answered that question. And I'll amplify a couple of points. One, as Professor Schwab, Klaus has said, for 50 years, the role of business
is to be a force of good. At Deloitte, we take that to heart. It is part of our purpose to make an impact that matters for our clients, for our people, and for the communities that we live and work in. The second point that you made was that these problems and issues that we face as a global community can't be solved by individual entities or governments. We have to collectively address these issues. And I think that was the key motivation that Mark and I and Klaus and others had in putting forth UpLink, is to bring the young innovators in contact with some of the leaders in the world to try and tackle collectively some of these issues around inequity, climate change, and some of the other issues that we'll be talking about.
Thank you. Now, Mark, you've talked about your three primary levers to combat the climate crisis very often. So can you talk a bit more about this approach and the importance of entrepreneurs, or as we like to call them, ecopreneurs, in achieving these goals?
Emmanuel, I just want to thank you so much for everything that you are doing. And Klaus Schwab, thank you for this incredible vision that you gave us for UpLink and for ecopreneurship. You're right, Emmanuel. There are three things that I am focused on here at Salesforce. As you know, Salesforce is the #1 CRM company in the world with more than 75,000 employees worldwide. And one of our core values is sustainability. And we are net zero. We're a net zero company, fully renewable today. And that's the #1 thing each and every one of us must do right now. We all must commit to lowering our emissions and going net zero. And #2, of course, is that we must plant 1 trillion trees. I want to thank the World Economic Forum for leading with 1T.org, an idea that we came up with several years ago, the idea that we could sequester 200 gigatons of carbon by planting 1 trillion trees. We need more time. This is a very important initiative, and we just saw at COP26 in Glasgow tremendous progress on the international stage, with all major stakeholders committing to reducing global deforestation. This is critical for us. And you're right, #3 is, of course, ecopreneurship. We must ignite an ecopreneur revolution, which is why I am so excited about UpLink, because you can see now tens of thousands of entrepreneurs, just like myself, starting their companies, who are doing amazing things all over the world. And it's not just creating tech companies, but creating companies that are a platform for change to improve the world, and specifically in this area, to get to net zero. So I want to thank you, all of you, for what you're doing. And I couldn't be more delighted to be here on the 2-year anniversary of UpLink.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really exciting. The platform's grown so much, and thank you all really for being a big part of it. So we know that the world has progressed enormously over the past 2 years, and I'd like to hear from each of you on the current needs to support innovation ecosystems. So let's stick with you, Mark. And I know that in this past autumn, you, alongside Salesforce and Time, you've made significant commitments to fund ecopreneurs over the coming years. So what can we do to further encourage the investment community to get behind ecopreneurs?
Well, thank you so much. We've put about $1/3 of $1 billion in committed capital towards this idea, the idea that we are going to fund the ecopreneurship revolution. And look, I'll give you a great example. We know that about 1/3 of the warming that is going on is coming from methane. But did you know that we have no way to really know where that methane is coming from? Of course, we have some ideas of methane sources or where different types of methane is created, but we don't have a pinpoint understanding of where that methane is. But with a ecopreneur right in San Francisco, Planet Labs, part of the UpLink network, and their CEO, Will Marshall, and who recently went public, well, what we've seen is technology, low-hanging satellites that are equipped with the ability for the very first time to see methane on the planet. This is going to give us the ability to actually know where the methane is and take action. This is so critical. And it's a great example of a great ecopreneur taking action that can make a dramatic change for the world.
Oh, that's really exciting. Just one of the examples then of one of our UpLink entrepreneurs also that is really taking action on these global issues. And now let's go to Punit. I understand that Deloitte has been focusing work in the education space with the world-class education program. Now you're also focusing on a world climate initiative. So can you talk a bit about this effort and the urgency that you felt to take action?
Well, I mean, as I said, it will take all of us to address some of these issues. Let me start with world class. We have committed at Deloitte, by the way, we give 3% of our distributable income. We're a partnership, 350,000 professionals, 50 billion in revenue. We give 3% back into the communities that we live and work in. But we committed that we will take 100 million people out of poverty by leveraging Deloitte's most powerful, most potent asset, our people, 350,000 people. And by community, we are focused on that goal. In India, for instance, we're focused on taking 50 million women and girls out of poverty. 175 million women and girls in India are not educated. In the United States, we're focused on underserved communities. So that's our world-class initiative. On world climate, what we decided to do is, like Mark at Salesforce, commit to being net zero. And so we're making that commitment. But what we're also doing is empowering our 350,000 professionals to be leaders when it comes to climate. And we're working with our entire ecosystem of suppliers, of clients, to make the change and get on the journey towards a net zero situation. So I think that's what World Climate is trying to do, and Deloitte is trying to be an example by leading on both of these initiatives.
Thank you. So the transition to net zero is really critical. And Professor Schwab, we know that at COP26, the forum launched various efforts in supporting the business transition to net zero. So can you tell us a bit more about these initiatives and how innovation is critical to their success?
Thank you, Manuela. No, the forum is deeply involved and played a key role in engaging the private sector for many years now, and particularly in the build-up to the Paris Accords already during COP21, and of course in the years which followed this historic agreement. Now, the initiative that has most influenced the startup sector, I believe, or will be most influential for the startup sector, is the First Movers Coalition. We launched it at COP26 together with the US climate envoy, John Kerry, and it has the important goal of making emerging clean technologies accessible and scalable for 8 key industry sectors. It brings together major companies, including both Salesforce and Deloitte, that can jumpstart the global demand and investments for emerging solutions and reduce costs. So it's a new innovative approach, and the coalition will in this way empower entrepreneurs to develop and scale their innovations between now and 2030, which in turn will help us reach our global emission targets. This is precisely the type of efforts that we need to help innovators flourish. We hope to begin leveraging UpLink to build innovation ecosystems in support of the First Movers Coalition in the near future. Thank you, Emanuela.
Thank you, Professor Schwab. Now, I'd like to close with your message to the next generation of impact innovators. Professor Schwab, would you like to start?
The next generation of innovators, I think we should have in mind, particularly also young people. I'm amazed the forum has developed as a community of global shapers, over 15,000 people in over 450 locations around the world. And it's amazing, the innovative spirit I see among those young people. We should consider every young people, and I think the executive director of UNESCO will agree with me, we should consider every young person as a potential solution to the problems we have. and particularly in the eco area, because those young people have recognized that we have a tremendous global challenge, but they also have the willingness and the energy and the innovativeness to do something about it.
Punit, your message to the next generation of impact innovators?
We can lick this problem if we work together, and I think you, with your great ideas and passion, as Klaus said, really are the key to addressing some of these issues that we all face.
Thank you. Mark?
Well, we're in a climate emergency. We understand that. And this is something that we all have to do. We all have to become ecopreneurs. And when we look at all these exciting examples of what's happening today, we can use this amazing fourth industrial revolution technology that we've seen emerge. You know, technology that you've seen come out of companies like Salesforce, the cloud, artificial intelligence, and other kind of incredible technologies like robotics or even advancements in biological sciences, and focus on this critical effort, because there's no question we have to focus today to get to net zero. And to see this ecopreneur revolution occur, well, this is really going to be one of the most exciting things that is going to happen over the next several decades.
Thank you so much to all of you for being here and for your support throughout this UpLink journey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now it's time to unveil the latest group of UpLink top innovators. In November last year, UpLink launched the Climate Justice Challenge, a call for solutions that help vulnerable communities around the world who are facing the worst effects of climate change. To find out more about the top solutions submitted to this challenge, let's watch this short video.
What we're seeing globally is that climate change is fueling crises. We're seeing underlying grievances being exacerbated. We're seeing increased competition over resources, whether that be food or water. And this is leading to increased tensions, it's leading to conflict, and it's leading to displacement. We've got large expectations in terms of the Climate Justice Challenge. We need innovative approaches and we need new ways of working. We need to look at resolving many of the injustices that exist in the world, those injustices which have led to the displacements of tens of millions of people and which are now impacting on the well-being of hundreds of millions of people more.
Congratulations to this inspiring list of innovators. Now let's learn more about the challenge of climate injustice and the sort of innovation we need to tackle it. Let's speak with two of the top innovators from this challenge, Judith Moreira, founder and CEO of Landforce Energy, joining us from Zimbabwe, and Jody Wu, CEO of OffGridBox Inc., who is dialing in from Rwanda. Welcome to the both of you, and thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on becoming top uplink innovators. Now, Judith, let's start with you. Why don't you tell us a bit about Landforce Energy?
Thank you so much for having me, and I would like to congratulate Uplink on its second anniversary. Landforce Energy is a woman-led for-profit social enterprise in the renewable energy sector. We focus primarily on construction and installation of biogas digesters to rural communities, those at the bottom of the financial pyramids. Our business model is on pay-as-you-go, as we try to make these digesters affordable and try to bring clean cooking to most of the rural people in Zimbabwe. We started Landforce Energy operations in 2018, and we've managed to provide solutions in form of clean cooking solutions to many communities by constructing close to 123 biodigesters. And we seek to continue to provide solutions to these marginalized communities so that at least they have access to clean cooking solution, and we also be trying to mitigate the effects of climate change, as this is a global issue at the moment, whereby it's being called that we should mitigate climate change, and we believe that there is no net zero without biogas. That is the reason why we ventured into biogas, as it brings solutions to the marginalized communities. Back to you, Emanuela.
Thanks, Judith. That's really inspiring. You know, you're providing clean energy to rural communities in Zimbabwe. Now, can you tell me a bit more about what was the inspiration behind it? Why did you start your company?
I grew up in the rural areas in Zimbabwe, and when growing up, we used to look for firewood early in the morning before we go to school. After school, we also had to look for firewood for cooking. So I vowed to myself that no child of mine should face the challenges that I faced growing up. There are so many challenges that women and children come across in search of firewood. Sometimes the harsh weather conditions. Sometimes they are even they risk being bitten by snakes, and there are also some men who are always on the run trying to rape women. Some women are murdered while in search of firewood. So with the effects of climate change as well, this gave me the move and the power to bring out solutions in form of biogas, so that at least we all have access to clean and affordable energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. Now, Julie, let's go to you. Tell us about your company, OffGridBox.
Sure. Thanks, Emanuela. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to people out in the world. OffGridBox is a socially driven company that provides clean water, clean energy, and connectivity to people in remote areas, from water pumping to water purification to seawater desalination. Our standard OffGridBox is an all-in-one sustainable solution. As you saw in the video, it's a 2 meter by 2 meter by 2 meter container with solar power that provides energy services to 400 families, while pumping and purifying up to 40,000 liters per day. We have 80 boxes in 15 different countries. Our projects range from disaster relief to rural electrification to now serving coastal and island communities with fresh water. We are really excited to be launching or to be continually innovating, and we'll be launching products that are the best blend of low-tech, appropriate and robust ideas with the most advanced technology to clarify the world's most contaminated waters, leveraging solar power and without any use of chemicals. We are developing disruptive patentable solutions to transform the industries of well pumping, irrigation, drinking water, and pre-filtration for desalination. So the applications are limitless, and we're really excited by what's to come.
Wow, that's really exciting. So many things coming up for you. Can you tell us a bit more about the impacts you've seen with the communities you've worked with, Jody?
Yes, so direct benefits are definitely in the areas of clean water and access to renewable energy, where in many cases in these areas this did not exist before. We deploy our technologies with the idea that our OffGridBox will become a community hub. At actually all of our boxes, we provide jobs and skills development to women that we hire as our daily operators. So we train them in technical skills to maintain them, and we call them our box keepers. Through our solar water purification container, we see a reduction of waterborne diseases, the ability to study or work after dark, and increased rural incomes from economic activities. For instance, in Tanzania, we're pumping from boreholes and providing villages with water. In the islands of Lake Victoria, we purify the lake water as drinking water and produce ice, eliminating the need to transport bottled water and ice from the mainland over 4 hours away, while also powering the lives of fishermen with a way to preserve their catch. In Rwanda, we provide health centers with power, where doctors can now provide 24/7 services, and we provide small businesses and refugee camps with phone charging, lighting kits, refrigeration, and even welding. So we're bringing these urban services to areas that were once without safe water and clean energy.
Okay. Wow, that's really important. Now, Judith, what about you? What are some of the benefits you've seen within the communities you've worked with?
With our intervention, we have managed to create employment as well, mostly to women, as our move is to empower women in rural communities so that they become financially independent and stop relying on their male counterparts. Well, we have also seen a rise in the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions by 3 to 6 tons of carbon dioxide. And we've also seen an increase in the agricultural yields from the women and the farmers, slurry from the biodigesters. And women have also testified that time for cooking has been lessened by at least 1 hour, and their children are not able to focus on their studies since they are now having access to clean cooking through biogas. So they're having enough time to read, they're having enough time to read and concentrate on their studies. And there's also the issue of many people coming in wanting to have the solutions brought to their homestays so that they help in mitigating or reducing the effects of climate change in the country.
Right, thank you, Judy. Now, last question to the both of you. What do you both need to take your innovation to the next level, and what do you hope to achieve over the next few years? Jody, let's start with you.
Sure. So firstly, we need to accelerate our research and development around innovations in our pipeline, especially in water purification. Already, we're developing a miniaturized version of our standard OffGridBox that will allow us to more effectively reach the base of the pyramid through micro-entrepreneurs. So we look forward to those smaller, more affordable solutions. Secondly, we need to expand our team and talent. We're actually looking beyond East Africa and looking at expanding our technologies so that we can stay at the forefront of the most cutting-edge technology in our race to fight desertification. So we need a team that can work across sectors and across environments, whether it is a rural community with no water source, an island with no clean water, or a refugee camp where a newly displaced community needs a rapid solution to fill water and energy resources needs. And lastly, we need to build partnerships with organizations to work within the World Economic Forum, with UpLink, with companies, with policymakers around the world so that we can move more quickly to address the water crises that are emerging around the world.
Thank you. Judith?
The biogas technology has been in existence for so many years, but due to the high costs of setting up a plant, many people have not managed to invest in the technologies. So basically, we would want to expand and grow in terms of the biodigesters. We want to invest in portable biodigesters, and we think if we invest in portable biodigesters, we'll be able to reach out to many people in the rural areas, the farmers, so that they have access to clean cooking. And our model is pay-as-you-go. So we want to have a pay-as-you-go software so that we'll be able to manage our portfolio. And we are also looking forward to expand to our neighboring countries, especially Mozambique, as the challenges that we face with Mozambique are similar, and they also have limited access to clean cooking solutions. And we think by expanding to our neighboring Mozambique, we'll be able to provide solutions to our neighboring country. And we also want to have partnership with other players in the industry so that we get to know more and try to introduce more technology in the industry. And I think if we manage to get the finances to expand, the finances to invest in the portable digesters, we'll be able to go far. And with UpLink, we are hoping that you will be able to work with us throughout our journey so that we bring solutions to the communities. And our motto at Landforce Energy says, we want to go green for our future generation.
All right. Well, best of luck to the both of you. Sounds like you have amazing goals ahead, and I hope that you'll get the most out of it. Best of luck on your UpLink journey, and looking forward to working with the both of you. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you, Manuela.
Thank you for having us.
Now, we've talked a lot today about what UpLink, its innovators, and its partners have been able to achieve over the course of the last 2 years. Now it's time to look ahead and to announce our latest innovation challenge. Launched in partnership with Salesforce and UNICEF, the Youth Mental Health Challenge addresses an urgent need to tackle mental health disorders in young people around the world. Today, an estimated 13% of young people live with a diagnosed mental health disorder, and every 11 minutes, one young person between the age of 15 and 19 takes their own life. Depression, anxiety, and behavioral disorders are among the leading causes of illness and disability among adolescents. Failure to address mental illness in young people means it often extends into adulthood, limiting the opportunity for these young people to lead fulfilling lives. The COVID-19 pandemic, meanwhile, and its indirect impact of reducing access to vital health services has exacerbated this problem. Now, here's a short video to tell us more about the Youth Mental Health Challenge. A difficult topic, but one that requires immediate action. And here to tell us more, we're now joined by UNICEF Executive Director, Catherine Russell.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Emanuela. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Now, let's talk about the mental health crisis among today's youth. So 1 in 7 young people live with a mental health disorder, and half of all mental disorders develop before age 15. Now, these stats are really staggering. Why is it so urgent now to address this challenge?
Well, I think the important point is that the word staggering is exactly the right word. And to clarify, UNICEF reported that at least 1 in 7 young people are experiencing mental health challenges globally. And the point here is that we don't really know for sure. The numbers can be much larger than that. A lot of these cases are undiagnosed. We also, as you mentioned earlier, we estimate that 48,000 adolescents die from suicide every year, and that's more than one person every 11 minutes. So it's really shocking. And of course, as was mentioned earlier in the video, COVID-19 pandemic is having a significant but not fully understood yet impact on children and youth mental health, and that's also something that we're very worried about. I think that there's been a very great underinvestment in mental health globally by governments, and that's somewhat depends on a country, but it's certainly worse in low-income countries, and that's something that we're very worried about, is those disparities. So I would say that the bottom line here, Manuela, is that the cost here is enormous for children and young people, and we've got to do our best to try to address it.
Definitely, and yeah, I think you make a valid point that probably in low-income countries is not as addressed as it is maybe in the Western world. So it's really important to talk about it and to find solutions from across the globe. So can you tell us a bit more about the Youth Mental Health Challenge by UpLink? How does it work, and what inspired UNICEF to get involved?
Well, I think that innovation is the key to developing quality programs at scale that can reach young people who are at the greatest risk. So the chance to leverage the World Economic Forum's extraordinary open innovation platform is just so exciting to us. And we're grateful to all the supporting partners who came together to design this challenge. And we're especially excited that young people themselves are at the center of this Youth Mental Health Challenge, because they're at the front lines of this issue. And the challenge is focused on innovating solutions for young people between the ages of 15 to 24. And this is a critical window because there's a recent Gallup poll that we did with UNICEF that shows that in the first half of 2021, nearly 1 in 5 young people between the ages of 15 and 24 in 21 different countries, so it was a pretty broad assessment, reported that they often feel depressed. But the interesting thing, and this is the good news here, that same poll showed that 83% of 15 to 24-year-olds surveyed believe that they think that it's better to seek support. And that's a change from what we've seen in the past, that these young people, they sort of acknowledge that they're not feeling great, but they also say, look, I think I should do something about it. So I think the key here is to try to optimize the opportunity here to say, look, what can we do to help these children, and how can we innovate and use technology to try to do that?
And yeah, can you give some examples of digital technologies that can play a big role in tackling this crisis?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing to remember is that we're talking about such a wide range of children. If you look at the world's 15 to 24-year-olds, it's an extremely diverse group of people, right? Some are students, some are out of school, some are already working, some are already parents. So our solutions have to be as diverse as these children are and these young people are. And importantly, and this is something that UNICEF is always talking about, is that they have to be co-designed with them. Can't try to impose them on young people. And that's, I think, the genius and the beauty of this process. So some of the broad areas include improving data. Data is always an issue. It's an issue in every area I've ever worked in. We have to fill in the knowledge gaps. And mental health is rarely adequately covered in existing health surveys. We found that over and over again. So this could include applying cutting-edge frontier tech to analyze existing big data sources, or using digital platforms to collect more robust representational data on mental health across the globe. We could explore new financing models to address underinvestment in young people's mental health. And this could include a variety of innovative financing instruments that mobilize more private capital and blended capital. Again, this is a persistent issue. We could also develop digital solutions, and this could include things like self-care apps, which are very important, and we have found those to be quite helpful. Platforms to train mental health professionals or support networks of teachers and community health workers, or using AI and other technologies to process existing data sources, including from social media, which, there's been so much coverage recently of that issue of the role of social media, and I think that's something that we really need to understand better. One example of that is something called ABCD. It's Ask, Boost, Connect, and Discuss. And that's a mobile-based peer network in Uganda, Tanzania, Malawi, and Zambia that connects adolescent and other young mothers living with HIV and helps them find support, including self-care approaches and access to mental health services. And that has been very successful and very helpful to those mothers. There are also non-digital solutions that can help reach young people who don't have access to digital technology, which unfortunately is a challenge in many parts of the world, including those who are caught up in humanitarian emergencies. And this could include designing for scale peer-to-peer support structures that work in acute and protracted emergencies. And it's a shocking number of children who are in those situations, and they can be very devastating for young people. So we're definitely interested in some of those. So in general, we're especially interested in innovation that promotes equity and sustainability, and those that help fight stigma associated with mental illness, which, although, as I said, children and young people are more willing to seek help, there is still a stigma that we're dealing with. So.
Mm-hmm. And thank you so much for that. Do you have any closing thoughts on this important topic?
I would just say that there's no question that mental health of young people is a critical issue for every country, just as it is for every person, every family that all of us knows. And it's low, middle, high income families alike, and that the pandemic has exacerbated those problems. But perhaps as a result, I think we're starting to see deeper engagement on this critical issue. And, mental health has really never been as much part of the dialogue as it is now. And I think that's a huge benefit for us, because it makes it easier to talk about. It makes it easier for young people to talk about. And we really need to make the most of this moment. So we need more public and private sector leaders to raise their voices and take action to promote positive well-being of young people, to really think about the young people around them, to understand what's going on with them. And please stay tuned, because very soon we'll be launching a new global coalition for youth mental health well-being in partnership with the Z Zurich Foundation. But again, I think this challenge here is very important. We want as many people involved as possible, and we're so grateful to you for being a part of it and for helping us. So thanks so much for that.
Well, and thank you so much for being with us today and talking a bit more about this important topic. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Now, the Youth Mental Health Challenge is now open for submission. So to find out more, please visit the UpLink website. I want to thank you all for being with us here today to reflect and celebrate UpLink's 2 years of innovation, sustainability, and impact. Whether you're an innovator, investor, or expert, we hope you'll join the UpLink community as we continue to grow and make a global impact. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter to follow our innovators on their journey and to learn more about our upcoming innovation challenges. Thanks again for tuning in.